Welcome to episode 4 of the Self-Care 101 podcast, where we talk about work-life balance, mental health and mindset. Thank you so much for listening today. On this episode, this is an exciting one. We're going to talk to my husband, and I am bravely going to ask him, how does he stay sane? We've been together 11 years now. I think he's very special. I love him. I'm inspired by him. But there's this one thing that he does that absolutely infuriates me about him. I recently wrote about depression's downward spiral and how easy it is to fall. And in that piece, I shared my husband's response to me to a potentially depressive event. I was really stressed out and worried, and my husband just continued to sit there and eat his dinner. He just sat there and ate his dinner. I didn't speak to him for the rest of the day, the rest of the night, and then come morning, he was the epitome of supportive husband. Helped me out with the child and made me a coffee, made me want for nothing. He was amazing. I loved him again. Now, a few weeks later, I randomly started laughing to myself. I was basically reliving what had happened that night. And I honestly was laughing so hard, I almost peed a little. That's an attractive picture. Anyway, I realised that one thing that annoys me so much about him, that one thing, it's that he puts himself first. Every time he puts himself first. He always has done, and he probably always will. But so long as I don't beat that good thing out of him. And the absolute irony of this one thing that annoys me about him is the main thing that I help my clients with, helping them put themselves first without the guilt as a first step to them achieving their goals, right? And it still makes me laugh. Anyway, it inspired me to want to interview him. I want him to share with you what he does to manage his mental health. Now, we've been through a lot together. Money troubles, dating troubles, our baby almost not surviving. So we've had our fair share of those marriage vows in a very, very short space of time. It makes our relationship unbreakable. But at the same time, at any point, it could have broken us as individuals. And he has this amazing way of managing his mental health, even though he's not doing and fulfilling all of his self-care needs that he would normally do. And I feel inspired by him. I enjoy him. He is my rock. And I think that it might be an interesting listen. Okay, so I'd like to start by welcoming to the show my husband, Mr. Dwayne McClymont. Hi, babe.
Hello, babe. You all right?
Yeah. I just have to tell you, this is super awkward for us, me interviewing him, and we have giggled and laughed about it, and I have gotten quite annoyed with him, but we're here, we're doing it, so I hope he complies. Yes? He's just looking at me. All right. Okay, babe. So I've introduced you. I've sort of talked about the trials and tribulations of our life so far and all the stress that's come with it, and I thought it'd be interesting for the listeners to hear about how a male, has dealt with his mental health, and who better to turn to than you, my strong husband. So with all the stress of life, the pressures from me, how do you manage to keep your mental health in check when you're not able to do the things that you'd normally do? So like you like to go to the gym, right? To work out, clear your head, etc. And I know since we've moved and you've had a new job, you haven't been able to go to the gym yet. So how are you managing your mental health? How are you managing stress?
I just take 1 minute, one day at a time. If I'm faced with any challenges, I normally just take like 5 minutes to process anything, and then I would choose the best response, basically. That's what I do. Like you were saying, because I don't get to go to the gym, I then take opportunities at work to be more physical to compensate for not going to the gym.
Okay. And does that?
That helps, yeah, because I feel like physically I'm getting rid of some of that stress, because a lot of guys, they do get rid of stress through physical exertion. So.
Right. So when you were growing up, if you can think back all that time ago.
It's not that
He's
long
40
ago.
in January, so...
Yeah, don't remind me.
So if you look back in your life, did you dream about what your future would look like, or did you have a vision of what your future would look like?
Yeah, I had a vision of what my future would look like, but it wasn't like too far into the future. You know, everybody used to talk about the 5-year plan. So I kind of like budgeted for that length of time. And I guess when that 5 years was up, I would budget for another 5 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had this vision of what my life would look like in the next 5 years. Didn't quite work out. But then within those 5 years, when I budgeted for the next 5 years, I kind of knew what I wanted to do more and more, and kind of work towards that.
So what drives you?
I guess just being happy, really. Just being happy with everything. We can always grumble about what we don't have, but then you've got to be grateful for what you do have. And part of what keeps me positive is actually looking at the positives. Yeah.
So it's interesting that you said it's about being happy, what keeps you happy. So can you quantify what makes you happy?
To be honest, just like obviously having you, having Micah, having a loving family support system around us both, great friends, and yeah, I guess we could always want more.
Yeah.
But do we need more? Then having those important relationships and the support.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you say that. The relationships that you have in your life are what quantifies what makes you happy, because a lot of the time when we're thinking about what makes us happy, it's having, this great job and, the money to spend on the things that we want to spend.
Yeah, the materialistic things, but all of that is going to be there no matter what. But the things that we choose to work on, if we put half the energy into work, into our relationships and the love that's around us, would that make us more happier? Obviously, the answer is yes. But in actual fact, most people tend to just work, and throw all of their energy into that and their source of income, thinking that that's going to make them happy, instead of putting more energy into the things that really, truly do make you happy, the little things.
Oh, he's going to make me cry. He's being so lovely.
You wanted an interview, didn't you?
Okay. All right. So you had your every 5 years you'd budget for what that future would look like.
Yeah.
So you're now in the present, okay? And if you can assess the last 5 years, for instance, I know we've been together a long time. We've been together for 2 budgets of your future vision. So how does life look like now? How does it look now for you? Are you content? Are you happy? Do you have regret? What does life look like for you now when you assess it, especially as you're approaching 40 and you're having a bit of a moment of reflecting on your life, like most of us do?
Yeah, everybody does. Yeah. Every year when you, especially when it's a milestone year as well. To be honest, what life looks like right now, I would have to say I'm content. I'm definitely happy. Stable job. We're both doing well. Micah's doing great. Yeah, I'm fully content. Just want to make the family bigger, really. That's all.
He can do that on his own.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out.
It's interesting that you said family bigger, though, because we haven't been spending as much time with all the people that we want to spend the time with. And you talk about being happy, equating to the commitment and the effort that you put into relationships.
Yeah, so definitely.
As you haven't, and I know obviously you haven't been spending as much time with people that you want to be spending time with outside of myself and our son, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel a bit gutted, really, because obviously there's the things that you want to do, like spend more time with friends, but in reality, you have to work in order to be able to fund to do those things. And then life being what it is, you've got to pay your bills, you've got to do this. That's why we get so consumed with not doing the things that we really want to do that make us happy. And I guess just stay in the same cycle of monotonous, like work, 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 work. So I definitely take those, like, so you kind of not settle, but you take your small wins where you can. So if I can't spend time with friends, spending time with family, and obviously we have to be, before we were anything, we had to be friends first. So in essence, you're my best friend. And no, like being serious, you're my best friend because you're the person that I confide in most. Whereas if I was spending more time with like friends, obviously it would be kind of like an offset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some things that I wouldn't want to trouble you with, I would probably trouble them with, and vice versa for them. Do you see what I mean? So
I mean, I appreciate what you've just said. Just so you know, listeners, I didn't know I was his best friend. I feel a bit of pressure now because he's not mine. No, joking aside, I hear what you're saying, but I do also believe in, like, you know me, I need to socialise. Like, I go stir crazy.
We all do. That's the thing. We all do.
Just between like you and me, you can go weeks and months without meeting up with friends and, you know, you're relatively still sane. But if I don't connect with a girlfriend, a guy friend, go out, have some level of socialising, I do go stir crazy. And you push me to do that because you know that's good for my health.
Because I don't want to deal with the fallout. Yeah.
True. But then, so obviously you and I are different. I know what I need and I get that. And we both realise when I need to go and do that. But for yourself then, not having that regular interaction with your friends or family that you want to have that. I mean, yes, it's lovely that you say that I'm your best friend, but I can't be your everything, right? Of course, yeah. So, and the way you'll talk to one of your boys is going to be very different to the way you talk to me. So you can, you know, essentially whinge about me to your boys, but you wouldn't to me. And that's cathartic. Yeah. So when you're not connecting with your guys in the same way, how do you manage to stay on top of things with managing your stress? Because you've got work stress, obviously you've got demands from me, and then you're not able to have the gym time that you'd want. I hear that you're getting, you know, a bit of physical activity through the work that you're doing, but how do you manage and how do you cope not spending time with those people?
If I'm to be totally honest, I actually don't know how I manage it. But it's just something that I've got into the rhythm of over the years. You know, like anybody who knows me knows that I was quite quiet, quite shy, like growing up. It wasn't until I got to like my mid-20s that I started to come out. So for me, it's kind of like normal to be at peace, just like being at home, not spending time with friends. It's not like a normality to me, but it's something that I can switch back into quite easily. Yeah. Not saying that I don't want to spend time with people, because most of the time when I'm not, it's actually my friends that I'm thinking about. And that's why the odd journey to and from work, that if I don't drive or anything, the first thing that I do is pick up the phone and reach out to someone that I haven't spoken to in a while. And what I've noticed over the last couple of years especially, everybody's lives have gotten busier. People that used to call me on a regular, their lives have changed and their families are growing, so they have less time to... So we're all kind of in the same boat. Right. So we do obviously have that like monthly catch up that we used to do, and even that has slowed down. When you go out with the boys. Yeah. And even that has slowed down to like every other month, sometimes every quarter. Yeah. Like it's like a business now, you know what I mean? Yeah. Sooner or later it might even be every year, but to be honest, it's kind of like, I guess for guys, that's kind of like our retreat. Very simplistic. We just go out, have a couple of drinks and like just laugh and joke around. Yeah. We don't really have to talk about anything serious, but just being able to have that space to step away from it allows us to come back into our normal situation. Yeah, it's almost like you have the safety blanket in these strong friendships and relationships with your family or friends that because everybody's in that sort of similar stage in life now,
that you are able to make the most of the time that you do spend
Yeah.
together and take as many opportunities as you can to connect with each other,
Yeah.
which then keeps obviously mental health in check and keeps you vibing, really, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, changing it up a little bit now. If you were granted a magic wand, a wish, right, and you were given the opportunity to do things differently, what would you do differently? What would you have done differently in your life?
To be honest, there's not much that I would change because most of what I have done has led me to this point and has shaped me into the person that I am. One thing that I probably would have done differently is gotten more career focused sooner so that I could have been more financially comfortable, like before 30. And obviously, that would have brought about a little bit more stability so that I would have more time to spend with friends and maintain the relationships.
Okay.
I think that's the one thing that I would change. Yeah.
Fair enough. And now you have to think about this question for a minute, okay? But what don't you like about yourself? I mean, I have a list. If you get stuck, I can give you a list of things.
I'm sure you can. I've got a list too. Yes. What don't I like about myself? I guess my time management could definitely be better. I start out most days like having the whole day, and then for some reason, like my time just tends to just slip away. I'm in control of most of it, but it's just those bits and pieces where I can let slip. And I think that's the one thing that I can say that I don't really like about myself. Like sometimes I do get lost. I do.
It gets lost. There's a list of things to do. Dude, you need to wash the clothes, wash the dishes, go to the food shop. And this man will procrastinate, I think is the word.
But procrastination. But you know what? One thing with procrastination, it's like you can, like for me, for example, you like at the beginning of the interview, at the top of the interview, is saying one of the things that you don't, that kind of like gets to you about me is the fact that I give back to myself, right? And me, if I'm constantly on the clock doing things according to lists that have been created and jobs that need to be done, then I will never ever have the time. So me procrastinating and stalling things out is another way of me like taking that time and taking stock. What really needs to get done today in the next 3 hours that I can't put off? So I've got to put myself first, because if my energy isn't replenished, then I'm going to be in the same cycle. The next day when I'm back at work, I would have had no rest. And then by my next day off, I'll be even more tired, so I won't be able to do anything. So I'd rather do the bits that I can, that I prioritize, and then I can basically do the same on my next time. Just saving batteries, isn't it? Yeah. Recharge the batteries.
Yeah. Or justifying his need to watch Netflix all day on his day off.
Not all day.
All day.
Other things do get done. It might be
all
on
day.
In the background. I watch TV differently.
Whatever. All right. And this question is probably going to be super easy for you. What do you like about yourself?
What do I like about myself? I like the fact that I'm kind. I think I've got a good personality. I'm polite. I like my dress sense. You know, I'm a bit into fashion. Sucker for sneakers. Yeah, all sneakerheads. Sucker for sneakers. So,
all right, this isn't your show.
Yeah. What else? Yeah, I guess that's what I like about myself. I'm not going to toot my horn too much.
Oh, he's also very sensitive. Sometimes I take the mickey with him and say that he's a bit precious.
Yeah, but that's not something I like about myself.
No, but I like it about him.
I'm too sensitive.
I like about him. He is sensitive. Sometimes when we're getting into it, I forget the fact that he is sensitive, and I can be quite harsh in an argument. So I do really appreciate that side of him, because I can sometimes be a bit too much, right? It's all right, you can say it.
No comment.
He doesn't want to have a fight. Okay. And finally, husband, what advice would you give to other men in a similar situation to you? So guys who are, approaching the whole family situation, or that they're spending lots of time at work and, trying to build their careers up and stuff, and they're not getting to spend as much time on themselves, on the outlets that help them, stay sort of mentally comfortable. What would you advise them to do in this situation, or what advice could you give?
Advice that I could give definitely would still be around time management. I think everything kind of like boils down to time management. Make time for the things that count. Anything that you can put off or prioritize and like put that further down the list. Prioritize the things that are important. Your health, your well-being is important. Do a little bit of what makes you happy first.
Yeah.
And the things that are always going to be there every day, they need to be done every day. There's no need to prioritize those things over things like family, friends, and your own health. You know what I mean? If you feel that you need to go for a walk, go for a walk. Clear your head. If you feel that you need to go to the gym and get your adrenaline going, do that. Okay. Do what makes you happy. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of your family, you can take care of your friends. If you're not healthy, then you won't have anything healthy, will you?
Thank you very much, Dwayne McClymont, for joining me on the Self-Care 101 podcast.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So that was a nice little interview. It was quite funny doing it, as you heard. No scripts, just us being us. I thought it was interesting to find out about him using work to be more physically active, where he's not able to go to the gym. I personally didn't actually know that he was doing that, so I'm pleased as his wife to find that out, and that he has got some level of outlet to help with channeling stressful situations. So that's really good. I liked his little thing about meeting the boys to retreat, like that's their own little retreat, to have some space, to step away from the stresses of life, and it allows you to come back to yourself a little bit. I thought that was quite interesting. And I really liked his little procrastination admittance, because my gosh, does he annoy me with his procrastinating. I mean, get the jobs done at the first part of the day. It will take you an hour, hun, and then you've got the entire day to Netflix and chill, and I won't say anything. But he won't do it. He'll literally do it 15 minutes before I come into the house, and I'm not silly. I know that those dishes are freshly wet. Anyway, I thought his piece of advice about learning to make time for the things that matter and prioritising your life in that order for the things that matter to you, the things that make you happy, help you then put you, your health, your well-being first. And I guess he does do that, which, on reflection, it's going to have to stop infuriating me, isn't it? Because it's actually quite admirable what he's doing. And I hope that was useful. Thank you so much again for listening today. If you enjoyed this episode, then please subscribe to the Self-Care 101 podcast. For more tips and tricks, head over to my website, franklycoaching.com, or for daily inspiration, you can follow me on the socials at franklycoaching. Talk to you soon.